Welcome to Man Utd Transfer HQ, your ultimate source for all things Manchester United transfer news and rumours. Our first news is Marcus Rashford and Barcelona boss on the same page as they highlight flaw in his game. Marcus Rashford has enjoyed a bright start to life at Barcelona since quitting Manchester United, but there is one persistent problem that continues to plague the England star. Marcus Rashford believes he should have even more goals despite his brilliant start to life at Barcelona. The on-loan Manchester United forward joined the Catalan Giants in the summer until the end of the season. And he has enjoyed a brilliant start with his temporary employers. Rashford's goal in the weekend's 3-1 win against Elche saw him make it 6 goals and 7 assists in 14 appearances in all competitions. Despite that, Rashford believes he should have done even better had his decision-making been improved. He said, "I just try to do the right things on the pitch," Rashford told reporters. "Even today, I could have had more assists or goals, sometimes the decision-making to shoot or pass was wrong. But I am going to have days like this. The important thing is always the team, and today we won. So I am happy for this. My focus is not so much on the output. If I am doing the right things, I know I will always be able to score and assist. My focus is with the team, to build relationships and feel comfortable." And while Rashford wants to improve further, Barcelona boss Hansi Flick has given his verdict and agrees with the forward. Speaking after the weekend's game, the German said, "When you see the chances he has, 1 or 2 goals more will be good, also for him. But we can be happy with him, of course. I am very happy with him. He can play on this level and I am happy he shows it, for the fans and for the club, and also for the teammates. He is a very important player." Rashford will be aiming to extend his hot form this coming week, with Barcelona facing a hectic run of fixtures. The Spanish Giants take on Belgian outfit club Brugge on Wednesday in the Champions League ahead of a showdown with Celta Vigo in league action. Flick will be desperate for a number of victories, with Barcelona already off the pace in the race for the league title. They already find themselves 5 points behind fierce rivals Real Madrid. The club also have a decision to make over Rashford's future. They have an option to buy him permanently at the end of the season for a fee of around €30 million, £26.2 million. Marcus Rashford and Barcelona's boss surprisingly agree on a major flaw in Rashford's game. Meanwhile, Erik Ten Hag could be set for a sensational Premier League comeback just a year after his Manchester United exit. Plus, the Premier League sack race heats up following Arne Slot's latest win, and Man United's 6-man shortlist before hiring Ruben Amorim has been revealed. Stay tuned for all the latest Man Utd transfer news, match updates, and breaking story. Our second news is Erik Ten Hag lined up for shock Premier League return a year after Man United axe. Erik Ten Hag, who is out of work following his sacking by Bayer Leverkusen in September, is one of the options being considered by Wolves after they ditched Vitor Pereira. Former Manchester United manager Erik Ten Hag is reportedly among the candidates being considered by Wolves. The Premier League's bottom side are looking for a new boss after sacking Vitor Pereira on Sunday, and Ten Hag has emerged as a surprise option. Wolves lost 3-0 to Fulham on Saturday, and that proved the final straw for Pereira, who was dismissed just weeks after signing a new 3-year contract. The Portuguese manager was appointed in December 2024 to replace Gary O'Neill, and O'Neill is now in talks over a return. The former midfielder is out of work currently and is engaged in talks with the club he led for 16 months. But The Athletic reports that Wolves are also considering other options, including Ten Hag, who is also available following his sacking by Bayer Leverkusen. Ten Hag was dismissed by the German side after just 3 matches in September. That was his first job since his 2.5-year stint with United, where he won the League Cup in 2022 and the FA Cup in 2023. He was sacked by United last October, with current boss Ruben Amorim coming in to replace him. Ten Hag is on a shortlist alongside former Middlesbrough coach Michael Carrick and Rob Edwards, who is currently leading Borough in the Championship. Wolves are rock bottom of the Premier League, having taken just 2 points from their 10 matches. They are the only side in the league without a win and are currently 8 points from safety ahead of their trip to Stamford Bridge to play Chelsea on Saturday. On the sacking of Pereira, Wolves executive chairman Jeff Schur said, "Vitor and his team worked tirelessly for Wolves and helped guide us through a challenging period last season, for which we are grateful. Unfortunately, the start to this season has been a disappointment and, despite our strong desire to give the head coach time and matches to find an improvement, we have reached a point where we must make a change. We thank Vitor and his staff for their efforts and wish them the very best for the future." All 8 of Pereira's backroom staff were also dismissed, leaving Wolves under-21 head coach James Collins and under-18 head coach Richard Walker at the helm ahead of the tricky game against Chelsea this weekend. Marcus Rashford and Barcelona's boss surprisingly agree on a major flaw in Rashford's game. Meanwhile, Erik Ten Hag could be set for a sensational Premier League comeback just a year after his Manchester United exit. Plus, the Premier League sack race heats up following Arne Slot's latest win, and Man United's 6-man shortlist before hiring Ruben Amorim has been revealed. Stay tuned for all the latest Man United transfer news, match updates, and breaking stories. Our third news is Premier League sack race as familiar name under pressure after Arne Slot win. Wolves decided to sack Vitor Pereira at the weekend as they sit winless at the bottom of the Premier League with the likes of Daniel Farke and Scott Parker now looking over their shoulder. Liverpool's win over Aston Villa on Saturday eased the pressure on Arne Slot, ending a run of 4 successive losses, but defeat for Leeds at Brighton has raised questions over Daniel Farke. The Whites were well beaten at the Amex, and that has seen their German boss become the bookies' favorite in the sack race. Vitor Pereira had been top of that list, having overseen 10 games without a win from the start of the season, but Wolves pulled the trigger at the weekend. It leaves them bottom and without a manager as several other clubs now look over their shoulders. A win for West Ham has condensed things with the Hammers in 18th, just 5 points shy of Newcastle in 13th. Nuno Espirito Santo is by no means a man out of the water, and he's not had the instant impact he would have hoped for. Nottingham Forest recently got Sean Dyche on board and, whilst they battled to a draw with Manchester United, they remain in the bottom 3. It ended a run of 3 successive wins for Ruben Amorim, who has perhaps enjoyed the most pressure-free week of his tenure with United, climbing the table in recent weeks. It was a weekend to forget for Thomas Frank after seeing Tottenham lose to Chelsea. The Blues won on the road, which led to boos ringing out at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as several players rejected their manager's request to clap the fans. The bad blood coming as a surprise to some given the team sit 5th. Safe as houses. There is no such bad feeling on the other side of North London. Mikel Arteta's Arsenal side won at Burnley on Saturday and finished the weekend with a 6-point advantage over Manchester City. Despite some early criticism, they have looked imperious and are being increasingly back to win the title. Pep Guardiola will have been pleased to see his side rise to 2nd, bouncing back from last weekend's loss at Villa. Bournemouth tasted a rare defeat, but Andoni Iraola continues to perform miracles with the Cherries still in the top 4. Despite the noise around Slot, there was never any danger Liverpool were considering a change. His counterpart on Saturday, Unai Emery, is still the man Villa trust with their immediate future, whilst newly promoted Sunderland can credit much of their stunning start to the season to manager Regis Lebris. Crystal Palace got back to winning ways at the weekend as they downed Brentford, with Oliver Glasner still performing impressively with the Eagles. Not totally safe. Amorim may have enjoyed a renaissance, the peak of which was a win at Liverpool, but doubts continue over his suitability in Manchester. Stay tuned for all the latest Man United transfer news, match updates, and breaking stories. Our last news is Man Utd's 6-man managerial shortlist before they hired Ruben Amorim revealed. Manchester United considered a raft of names before hiring Ruben Amorim, with 6 men including Thomas Tuchel and Graham Potter on their radar before Erik Ten Hag's sacking. Manchester United considered 6 men as their next manager, Thomas Tuchel and Graham Potter among them, before eventually changing their approach and landing on Ruben Amorim as their next manager following the sacking of Erik Ten Hag almost a year ago. The Dutchman was dismissed after a dire start to the season, and United moved to land the Portuguese coach, then at Sporting Lisbon, but he hadn't been on their radar months earlier. After United won the FA Cup in 2024, they begun sounding out potential new managers, with Ten Hag under pressure despite his Wembley success. Tuchel was a man without a job, having left Bayern Munich and met club chiefs in Monaco, but was keen for a break. Potter had just come off a miserable spell at Chelsea, leading to questions over his credentials at the top level, yet he remained a possible appointment. Roberto De Zerbi, Mauricio Pochettino, Thomas Frank and Marco Silva were also on the shortlist, according to The Athletic. Director of football Jason Wilcox did speak to Amorim, and was impressed, but felt going from Sporting to a United side needing a rebuild would be too challenging. That it is understood that a proposal was made to De Zerbi, who had just left Brighton, but he turned down their approach for financial reasons and shortly after took the gig at Marseille. Frank and Silva had both seen their stocks rise whilst operating in West London with Brentford and Fulham respectively. Neither man chose to make the jump. Frank has since left the Bees to become Tottenham boss, but Silva remains at Fulham. Thiago Motta, who had impressed at Bologna and would join Juventus, was seen as another rising talent alongside Amorim, but no move was made. When push came to shove and United opted to axe Ten Hag, leaving the club in 14th after 3 wins from 9 league games, they did turn to Amorim. He had continued to impress at Sporting, and his record of 2 league titles, 3 domestic cups and a win percentage of 71% was too tempting. United met him for a 5-hour meeting in Seville on October 18, where he laid out his vision, and were impressed with what he had to offer. Amorim expressed hesitancy multiple times about taking over the job in mid-season, but it was made clear to him that it was now or never, and he made the jump. The club's leading lights have repeatedly stuck by the decision to appoint the Portuguese boss, despite his dismissal record since taking charge. Sir Jim Ratcliffe recently claimed he needed 3 years to prove he was a top coach. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Man Utd Transfer HQ, and turn on notifications so you're always in the loop with the latest transfer.